How's it going, YouTube? So today I'm going to be walking you through my workout on my push day. So I'm currently on road to benching 405 again on this recomp / slight surplus. And I always start my workouts with dynamic stretching of the shoulder joint so I could retract and depress the scapula. I also want movement in the upper back, lower back as well, so when I engage my leg drive, nothing starts to cramp up and create problems or pinching my lower back, which, believe it or not, you can get snapped up from doing something like a bench press. I've experienced it and it's horrible. But the biggest benefit of doing a full body like warm up on the bench is that you could take faster warm-ups and jumps on the actual bench press itself. So in my mind, I'm actually saving time. Now in this session, I'm working up to a top single at around RPE 6. In my training, I completely separated the idea of RPE and reps in reserve for the main reason that I do not want to get injured and want to prolong my progress, even if it means it's slowing down my progress. Because if you do experience an injury, you will be slowing down your progress later down the line. So RIR versus RPE essentially is reps in reserves versus rate perceived exertion. If you have no injuries, you feel amazing, and training's just bliss, you could for sure use them interchangeably. If you've plateaued at some point in your training, more times or not, there's a given issue with strength somewhere, or weakness, or even pain that may have resulted from a technical breakdown, then I would consider separating your RPE training versus your RIR training. Mind you, this isn't for everyone, so some people are gonna be like, bro, that's just arbitrary. But for myself, it helps me keep myself accountable and motivated. So I use RPE based on effort, like 1 out of 10 effort being super easy and 10 out of 10 being super difficult. And this is in consideration of maintaining technical cues with my training, like engaging leg drive, keeping scaps in place, not bouncing the reps off your chest. It'd be the difference of like ego curling, hammer curls, like 80 pounds with no tempo on the way down versus controlling the tempo with like 50 pounds. While you're able to curl the 80 pounds, there was technical breakdown, but the RPE effort might be the same as the 50 pound set because you controlled the eccentric. Regardless, the reps in reserve might be the same, being 3 to 0. Again, if you haven't experienced a plateau and you're not injured, then definitely use it interchangeably. Because the game of lifting is about taking smart risks and risks that won't destroy your body. One pec tear, one quad tear, one bicep tear can literally end your powerlifting career, and so you want to train as smart as you can without risking injury. Now moving on to a supreme movement that's been really building up my tricep strength. The barbell military press has been goated. Now I'm a huge advocate of doing dumbbell shoulder press, but I've come to realize that the setup is just so much of a hassle to chuck up dumbbells, and truly if I want unilateral work, I'd probably opt for a unilateral shoulder pressing machine. Unless I'm starting with dumbbell shoulder press as a first movement, I do find it a bit tedious of a movement to do, purely from the setup, and feels relatively unstable on the shoulders as well, considering that I bench press often before I train shoulders. But the nice thing about the seated overhead press with barbell, even if you do quote unquote cheat and change the inclination to 75 degrees, you will just be using more of your upper chest and chest fibers, which is never a bad thing. I think of it as a incline barbell bench press on steroids where I just have to use less weight and get more tricep usage, which absolutely has been helping with my barbell bench press in itself. So in hopes of building up my chest, I'm doing a lot more chest isolations, and maybe it's a fortunate thing, but it feels like it's unfortunate. All the cable pin loaded machines are too light. On this pec deck, I purposely focus on keeping my chest up. I sometimes look up on purpose when I feel like my shoulders are rounding forward. And I use the pec deck as an in-between movement for my chest training to quote unquote pre-exhaust, not really, but to get a training stimulus for my chest, but to give my triceps a little bit of recovery from the seated shoulder press. So when I do my last pressing motion, I'll have a bit more tricep juice, and to limit my pressing motion purely from chest exhaustion and not tricep exhaustion. Also, in terms of actual sets I do, 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps depending on the movement that I'm doing. As you get a little bit more fried, it's going to be closer to 8 to 10 reps. So I don't need nearly as much load to get a good training stimulus out of the sets. So as stated previously, I like to save the tricep juice to the end so I can finish all presses. When it's a push day, you should be prioritizing your presses, especially if you want a bigger chest. Everyone focuses on the upper chest. Yes, it's important, but don't forget about the overall development of your chest, including the mid to lower pec. Once you have a big chest, that's when you should personally be worrying about the shape or figure of your chest and maybe consider, okay, now I need to do more upper chest training. But if you're not satisfied with chest size, just focus on growing as much as possible. Now it's time for the finishing touches of my workout, which is the lateral raising, the tricep cable stuff. And I really call this final touches because a lot of people put way too much emphasis on your lateral raise. Truth be told, I've been noticing insane lateral head gains on my shoulders just from the shoulder press itself. And what I've come to realize is that you do the majority of your work in the first couple exercises, and this stuff is kind of like pump work or aftermath work from the main compounds I've been doing. Now, of course, I think it's stage dependent, so if you're very deep into your training career, you've already built a lot of motor control, you already built a lot of size, and going hard at compounds gives you great training intensity and great training stimulus, unlike someone that's new to the gym and has a very weak link to the chain where they get poor training stimulus in their chest, triceps, or even shoulders. Like if I was really short on time, I can cut out the rest of this workout and I'd be fine with my training. Barbell bench press for chest, seated shoulder press for lateral raise and triceps, pec deck for a bit more chest, decline press for triceps and some shoulders. The rest for these isolations is more like the cream of the crop. Not trash, not useless, I'm not hating on them, I'm just saying 95% of the training could be done at this point. And these exercises are way more enjoyable because when you have the pump already from all the work done, it's easy to maintain, you get to see all the gains, it looks good, it's motivating. So it is enticing to keep me in the gym longer, admittedly. So it is good to do one overhead extension for triceps, but I do have a bit of elbow tendonitis from trying to get back into dips right away with like 3 plates, and my elbow's a little bit funky. But my mindset with isolations is to go with the flow, so if I feel like I have a bit more energy some sessions, maybe I'll add in an exercise or two. On the contrary, if I feel depleted and I have things to do and I just don't feel like being at the gym, because the vast majority of the work's already done, I don't feel as bad about leaving 1 or 2 isolation movements not done. But to be honest, I do have principle most of the times, just because most people, including myself, would probably get lazy and end up cutting more than what they should be doing session to session. As for training, after isolations, I finished off with 30 minutes of cardio at zone 2. It's pretty much my training. If you guys are curious about seeing my other training days, leave a comment below. Have any questions, drop below, and I'll answer them as soon as possible. Like, subscribe, and comment below, and use code JESSLEE on huge supplements. Use code JESSLEE at Young LA. Thank you. Peace.